He's turning blue. I screamed, watching helplessly as my 6-year-old son Oliver clutched his throat, his lips taking on a terrifying shade of purple. The Italian restaurant erupted into chaos as other diners jumped from their seats, someone shouting for an EpiPen. My name is Madison Parker, and what should have been a simple family dinner turned into my worst nightmare. My cousin Diana sat across the table, her face a mask of fake concern, though I caught the slight smile she tried to hide behind her hand. I'm sure it's just anxiety, she said calmly, while Oliver's breathing became more labored. He's always been dramatic about his so-called peanut allergy. I frantically dove through my purse for Oliver's EpiPen, but it wasn't there. I always kept it in the small front pocket, checking obsessively before we left the house. Always. But tonight, somehow, it was missing. Looking for this? Diana asked, pulling Oliver's EpiPen from her designer handbag. I found it in the restaurant bathroom earlier. Someone must have dropped it. My blood ran cold as I snatched it from her manicured hands. Later, I would remember this moment, remember how she volunteered to watch my purse when I'd taken Oliver to wash his hands before the meal. But right now, all I could focus on was saving my son. The EpiPen shot worked quickly, but Oliver still needed emergency care. As the paramedics loaded him into the ambulance, I heard Diana telling my parents, who'd just arrived at the restaurant, I don't understand what happened. I specifically told the waiter about his peanut allergy. This is terrible. But something felt wrong. Diana had insisted on ordering for the table, claiming she knew the best dishes. She practically forced Oliver to try her special pasta sauce, saying, "Come on, buddy, just one bite. Your mom makes you too scared of food." At the hospital, the doctor confirmed what I already knew. Oliver had suffered a severe allergic reaction to peanuts. This level of reaction suggests direct exposure, Dr. Thompson explained, her face serious. Not cross-contamination. Was he given something containing peanuts? I thought about Diana's insistence that Oliver try her sauce, how she practically spoon-fed it to him herself. Diana, who'd spent the last 6 months telling everyone that I was making up Oliver's allergies for attention. Diana, who'd repeatedly accused me of Munchausen by proxy in family gatherings. "Officer," I said to the policeman taking our statement, "I need you to check the restaurant security cameras. I don't think this was an accident." Diana had always been the family favorite, beautiful, successful, and recently married to a wealthy businessman. When I became a single mom at 23, she'd been the first to criticize my parenting. Oliver's allergies, diagnosed when he was 2, became her favorite target. "You're just being overprotective," she'd say at family events. My mother never restricted what I ate, and I turned out fine. She tried to slip Oliver forbidden foods, calling me paranoid when I intervened. The hospital wanted to keep Oliver overnight for observation. As he finally drifted off to sleep, his breathing still raspy but stable, my phone buzzed with a text from the restaurant's manager. "Mrs. Parker, we've reviewed the security footage from tonight. You need to see this. It's disturbing." Detective Santos arrived at the hospital within the hour, tablet in hand. "We have footage from multiple angles," she explained, her expression grim, "including the kitchen area." The first clip showed Diana arriving at the restaurant 2 hours before our dinner reservation. She spoke with someone in chef's whites near the back entrance, handing them what looked like cash. The second clip showed her in the bathroom, clearly rummaging through my purse while I was helping Oliver wash his hands. But it was the kitchen footage that made my heart stop. Diana was there, adding something to a specific plate of pasta sauce. The timeset matched our dinner order. "We've interviewed the kitchen staff," Detective Santos said. "A man claiming to be a new chef helped prepare your table's order. He left immediately after. No one recognized him." My hands shook as I watched the footage again. "She planned this," I whispered. "She deliberately poisoned my son." "There's more," Detective Santos said quietly. "We found this while searching her phone." She showed me a series of text messages between Diana and someone saved as J, kitchen help. The messages dated back 3 months, discussing payment for help with a food allergy test, and ensuring it would look like a restaurant mistake. "I just need to prove she's lying about his allergies," Diana had written. "Once he eats it without any problems, everyone will see what an attention-seeking fraud Madison is." As if that wasn't damning enough, her phone contained photos of my purse from different angles, obviously taken without my knowledge, showing exactly where I kept Oliver's EpiPen. "Mrs. Parker," Detective Santos said, "we're treating this as attempted murder." The level of premeditation here. She was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. Diana was there, still playing the concerned cousin. I came as soon as I heard Oliver was staying overnight, she called out, walking toward us with a stuffed bear in her hands. Detective Santos stepped forward, blocking her path. Ms. Diana Wells, you're under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit grievous bodily harm to a minor. Diana's face went white, then red with rage. This is ridiculous. I was trying to help. Madison's been lying about his allergies for years. I was proving a point. As they led her away in handcuffs, she kept screaming about doing it for the family, about exposing my lies. But what the investigation would uncover about Diana's help would shake our family to its core. The days following Diana's arrest exposed a web of calculated malice that left our entire family reeling. Detective Santos's investigation revealed that the restaurant incident wasn't Diana's first attempt to prove Oliver was faking his allergies. We found a journal in her home office, Detective Santos explained, spreading photos across the hospital table. She's been documenting her attempts for months. The entries made me physically ill. Diana had been systematically contaminating Oliver's food at family gatherings, starting with trace amounts of peanuts. When those smaller exposures triggered mild reactions, she convinced everyone they were just anxiety attacks brought on by my helicopter parenting. Look how you're making him afraid of everything, she'd say, while my son developed mysterious hives or stomach aches. Now I understood why Oliver had been getting sick after nearly every family dinner. But the most shocking discovery came from Diana's husband, Mark. He found a hidden camera footage in their home office showing Diana practicing with different recipes, testing peanut concentrations. She'd even created spreadsheets tracking symptoms she expected to see. I thought she was working on her food blog, Mark told the police, his voice hollow. She said she was developing allergy-friendly recipes. I had no idea. I helped her set up that camera. The investigation also uncovered Diana's obsession with Munchausen by proxy cases. Her computer history showed hundreds of hours researching the condition. She joined online forums dedicated to exposing parents who fake their children's medical conditions. She was building a case against you, Detective Santos explained. She planned to use Oliver's miraculous recovery from his fake allergies to launch a social media campaign about medical child abuse. The evidence kept mounting. Diana had been collecting hair samples from Oliver during his visits, testing them for traces of medications she was convinced I was using to make him sick. She'd even hired a private investigator to follow us to doctor appointments. Then came the messages from her phone. Dozens of conversations with members of an online group called Medical Truth Seekers. They encouraged her investigation, offering advice on how to prove I was faking Oliver's condition. "You're doing the right thing," one message read. "Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. Once you expose her lies, she'll get the help she needs." The group members shared techniques for testing children's fake allergies, discussing dosages and methods of food contamination. Diana had taken detailed notes, planning each exposure with clinical precision. My parents were devastated. They'd always favored Diana, often taking her side when she questioned Oliver's allergies. Now they sat in the hospital room, watching their grandson recover, crushed by their own role in enabling Diana's actions. "We should have listened," my mother sobbed, holding Oliver's small hand. "All those times you told us something wasn't right, that Diana was making him uncomfortable. We just thought she was trying to help." Oliver's allergist, Dr. Chen, reviewed Diana's journal and was horrified by the escalating pattern. Each exposure could have killed him, she explained. His allergies weren't getting worse by chance. She was systematically sensitizing his immune system with repeated exposures. The restaurant attack could have been fatal precisely because of her previous tests. The prosecutor's office filed multiple charges: attempted murder, assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, child endangerment, and conspiracy. Diana's medical truth seekers friends suddenly went quiet, deleting their accounts and disappearing into the internet's shadows. But Diana refused to accept responsibility. During her initial court appearance, she maintained her righteousness. "I was trying to save him from her," she screamed, pointing at me. "She's the one hurting him. I'm the only one who cared enough to prove it." The judge was unimpressed. "Ms. Wells, your actions show not concern but a dangerous obsession. You deliberately and repeatedly exposed a child to substances you knew could kill him. This was not help. This was calculated torture. Diana was denied bail, deemed a danger to Oliver. Her husband filed for divorce the next day, horrified by what she'd done under the guise of helping. As Oliver recovered, we discovered more families in the Medical Truth Seekers network who'd been targeted by self-appointed medical vigilantes. Some children had ended up in intensive care. One had died. The FBI launched an investigation into the online group. Sitting by Oliver's hospital bed, watching him sleep peacefully after another round of treatments, I thought about all the times I doubted myself because of Diana's accusations. How many other parents had suffered similar campaigns of medical gaslighting? But the story wasn't over. As the trial approached, Diana's lawyer contacted us with an unexpected revelation. She hadn't been working alone. Someone else in our family had been helping her all along, someone we never suspected. The revelation hit our family like a bomb. Diana's accomplice was her mother, my Aunt Patricia, a retired nurse who had access to medical supplies and knowledge of how to manipulate allergy symptoms. She'd been the one advising Diana on dosages, providing medical materials, and helping coordinate the tests. We found a burner phone in Patricia's house, Detective Santos explained. The messages between her and Diana go back over a year. They were planning this together, documenting everything like some twisted scientific experiment. The messages were chilling. Patricia had been coaching Diana, using her medical background to make their attacks appear like natural allergic progression. She'd even helped falsify some of Oliver's medical records at a clinic where she still had connections. The boy needs to be freed from his mother's delusions, Patricia had written. Sometimes we must be cruel to save someone. I did it with you when you were young, and look how strong you turned out. This sparked another investigation, this time into Diana's childhood medical records. What emerged was a generational pattern of medical abuse. Patricia had subjected Diana to unnecessary treatments and fictitious ailments throughout her childhood, creating the very monster she'd helped unleash on Oliver. During Patricia's arrest, she remained coldly clinical. I was protecting my grandson, she insisted. Madison is doing the same thing to him that her mother did to her. It runs in families, you know, Munchausen's. But she was wrong. My mother, devastated by the accusations, provided decades of my own medical records, showing no pattern of fictitious illnesses. Oliver's allergies were real, documented by multiple independent doctors since his first reaction as a toddler. The prosecution now had an even stronger case. Patricia's involvement proved the attacks weren't just a cousin's misguided attempt to help. They were a calculated, medically informed campaign of torture against the child. In a surprise move, Diana's lawyer approached us with a deal. She would testify against her mother in exchange for a reduced sentence. The prosecutor explained that Patricia's role as the medical authority made her the more culpable party. Your aunt used her medical knowledge to deliberately harm a child, the prosecutor explained. She trained Diana to carry out these attacks, exploiting her own daughter's traumatic childhood to create an accomplice. The trial was brutal. Medical experts testified about the escalating pattern of exposures, how each test had made Oliver's allergies more severe. Security footage from multiple family events showed Patricia and Diana working together, contaminating food, swapping plates, creating diversions while they tampered with Oliver's meals. Diana's testimony was devastating. She described how her mother had convinced her that all unusual medical conditions were fake, that parents like me needed to be exposed for our children's own good. She spoke about her own childhood of medical gaslighting, how Patricia had made her doubt every illness, every pain. I thought I was helping, Diana sobbed on the stand. My mother told me that's what love looks like, forcing people to face the truth, even if it hurts them. I didn't understand that she was the one who taught me to ignore real pain. Patricia remained unmoved, even as the evidence mounted. Everything I did was for the good of the family, she declared. Sometimes we must cut out the cancer of attention-seeking behavior, no matter the cost. The jury took just 4 hours to reach their verdicts. Patricia was sentenced to 15 years for her role as the mastermind. Diana received 8 years, with mandatory psychiatric treatment. Both were permanently barred from any contact with Oliver. In the aftermath, our family began the slow process of healing. Oliver's allergies stabilized once the secret exposures stopped. We moved to a new house, installed security cameras, and changed all our emergency medical providers. My parents threw themselves into allergy awareness advocacy, helping other families recognize and prevent medical abuse. They sponsored legislation requiring better security measures in restaurants to prevent allergen tampering. A year after the trial, I received a letter from Diana's psychiatrist. Diana wanted to meet to apologize in person. She'd been diagnosed with complex PTSD from her own childhood of medical abuse, finally receiving the help she needed to understand what her mother had done to her and what she'd done to Oliver. I declined the meeting. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, even if they can be understood. Instead, I focused on helping Oliver heal, not just physically but emotionally. We worked with child psychologists to process the trauma, to rebuild his trust in family and food. Today, Oliver is 8 and thriving. He's learned to advocate for his own health, to trust his body's signals, and to understand that his allergies are real and valid. The security cameras that caught his aunt and grandmother's crimes now watch over a happy, healthy boy who knows he's safe in his own home. Sometimes at night, I still check his breathing, haunted by the memory of that terrible night at the restaurant. But then I remember that the people who hurt him are gone, that our family's cycle of medical abuse ended with my son's generation. We survived their tests, their twisted version of love. And in doing so, we learned the most important lesson. Real love protects, it doesn't probe for weakness. Real love believes your pain. Hi, I'm Evelyn. While arranging the newest additions to my library, the patter of little feet echoes through our suburban home. My kids race to their favorite spots among the towering bookshelves. Mom, can we read the Dragon book again? Mason bounces on his toes, excitement lighting up his face. No fair. We read that yesterday, Zoe protests, her pigtails swinging as she folds her arms. How about we try something new today? I suggest, reaching for a beautifully illustrated mythology book. Before we can settle in, a familiar grating voice cuts through the peaceful moment. There you go again, Evelyn, filling their heads with nonsense. My father-in-law William says as he steps into the room unannounced. I suppress a sigh. Dad, I didn't know you were coming over. Michael, my husband, emerges from his home office, looking as uncomfortable as always when William shows up. Can't a grandfather check on his grandchildren? William replies smoothly. His gaze shifts to Mason. Speaking of which, how's baseball going? Mason hesitates, shuffling his feet. I joined the book club instead. Book club? William's eyebrows shoot up. Michael, are you hearing this? At his age, you were already excelling in sports. Evelyn's turning him soft with all this reading nonsense. My jaw tightens. Mason chose the book club himself, William. He's thriving there. Of course he did. With you pushing all these books on him, William retorts. You're a literature professor, Evelyn, but that doesn't mean you should impose your lifestyle on my grandson. Later that evening, my best friend Scarlett stops by. A lawyer with a sharp eye for toxic behavior. She listens as I pour us both some wine. You won't believe what William did today, I sigh. Let me guess. More unsolicited parenting advice? She says with a knowing look. Exactly. He basically called me a bad mother for encouraging Mason to read. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. You're not crazy, Em. He's trying to control everything because he thinks his money gives him the right. Lily, Michael's sister, joins us after dinner, glancing nervously toward the door as if William might appear any moment. Em, I just want you to know I support you, she whispers. What Dad's doing isn't right, but... You can't speak up because he's funding your gallery, Scarlett finishes. Lily nods, her voice barely audible. He's already threatened to pull funding twice because I displayed controversial art. I can't risk losing everything. I squeeze her hand. I understand, Lily, truly. 3 days later, I stand in my backyard staring at the ashes of 15 years of memories. The acrid smell of burnt paper lingers in the air as my hands tremble, clutching a charred fragment of my mother's copy of Jane Eyre. What did you do? I whisper, my voice shaking. It had to be done, Evelyn, William says, his tone calm, infuriatingly dismissive. Those books were becoming an obsession. The kids barely played outside anymore. They're on 3 sports teams, William. They spend plenty of time outside, I snap. Michael shifts uncomfortably beside his father. Dad thought maybe we could use the space for something more practical. More practical than their education, than their heritage. I demand, my voice breaking. Evelyn, let's not be dramatic. I've already ordered some exercise equipment, William says with infuriating smugness. He burned my mother's books, I whisper, tears stinging my eyes. Her notes, her thoughts, the only pieces of her I had left. Our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, appears at the fence, her expression grim. I saw what happened yesterday, she says. I have it all on video if you need it. William's face turns red. You were spying on private family matters. When I see someone burning books in their backyard, you bet I record it, she snaps. That night, as I sift through Mason's school records, I find something chilling. Emails between William and my children's teachers. Look at these, I say, thrusting the papers at Michael. Your father's been emailing their teachers, asking them to forward concerns about their academic performance. He's just worried, Michael says weakly. They're both on the honor roll. Zoe's reading 2 grades above her level. He thinks pushing them too hard now could burn them out later, Michael mumbles. I stare at him, aghast. Your father burned my library. How can you defend him? He offered to pay for everything, Michael says, his voice barely audible. I don't want his money, I say firmly. I want my children to grow up knowing it's okay to love books, to think for themselves. The doorbell rings. It's Lily, her face pale and her hands trembling as she steps inside. I just heard what Dad did, she says, her voice breaking. Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. He did something similar to my art supplies in college. What? I asked, stunned. He said art wouldn't pay the bills and burned everything except my business textbooks. That's why I stopped painting, and now he's done it again. Lily, this has to stop, I say firmly. She nods and pulls a small flash drive from her pocket. I brought you something. It's all his emails to Michael about the kids, plus some concerning messages to their teachers. I also have evidence of how he's been manipulating everyone with his money. Why are you showing me this now? I ask. Because I was too scared to stand up to him before, she admits. But watching him destroy your library like he destroyed my art, I can't stay quiet anymore. And Tom Wilson isn't just our neighbor, he's an investigative journalist. Maybe it's time someone exposed Dad's concerned grandfather act. Scarlett and Tom join us at the dining table that evening, spreading papers and receipts across the surface. Take a look at these renovation receipts, Scarlett says, pointing to the documents. Your father-in-law's company charged triple the market rate for basic projects. And here's where it gets interesting. Tom highlights several transactions. These huge payments went to shell companies that all trace back to offshore accounts. He used that money to control everyone. Lily's hands tremble as she picks up one of the documents. The down payment for my gallery. It came from one of these fake renovation projects. That's how he kept us dependent on him. I stare at the papers, my mind racing. Scarlett, remember when I was offered that department chair position at Berkeley? The one that mysteriously fell through. Tom taps his laptop. Found the email trail. William contacted the dean directly, claiming you were under investigation for academic fraud. What? My voice shakes. I never knew. There's more, Lily says, pulling out her phone. Remember my ex-fiancé, Mark? Dad didn't just disapprove of him being a teacher. She presses play on a recording. William's voice fills the room. Either you end it with that worthless teacher, or I'll make sure he never works in education again. Choose wisely. Lily's eyes glisten with unshed tears. He's been playing chess with our lives for years, using his money and influence to push us wherever he wanted. The doorbell rings again. This time, it's Michael. He looks pale as he steps inside, clutching a folder. I found something in Dad's office, he says, his voice low. The company's facing an audit. He's been cooking the books for years. We know, Scarlett says, crossing her arms. We've got proof of everything. The fake renovations, the blackmail, the sabotage. Even that anonymous tip about Mason's art teacher being unqualified. That was him too. Michael sinks into a chair, his face stricken. I knew he was controlling, but this... What do we do? I ask, glancing at Tom. Tom straightens. We've got enough for multiple stories: financial fraud, systematic manipulation, abuse of power. 3 major papers are already interested, plus some business journals asking questions about the company's practices. Michael hesitates, pulling out his phone. Listen to this voice note from last week. He plays a message and William's voice floods the room. You better keep your wife in line, son. Remember who owns your house, your car, your children's college funds, everything you have. I gave you everything, and I can take it away. Michael takes a deep breath, his voice steady for the first time. No, Dad. Everything we have, you use to control us. Not anymore. The doorbell rings again. This time it's Zoe's teacher, Mrs. Thompson. She looks nervous, clutching a folder tightly in her hands. I need to confess something, she begins, her voice trembling. Your father-in-law asked me to create false concern reports about Zoe's performance. I refused, and he threatened my job. I have the emails. Add it to the pile, Scarlett says grimly, motioning to the growing mountain of evidence on the table. Tom examines the new documents, his expression resolute. This isn't just a story. This is the end of William Thompson's empire of control. Lily picks up one of William's threatening emails, her face set in determination. All these years we thought we needed his money to succeed. But really, he needed our silence to keep his fraud going. I stand, thinking of my burned library and the memories it held. He should have remembered that knowledge is power, I say, my voice steady. And he just made the mistake of burning the wrong books. Later that evening, William stands in my doorway, checkbook in hand. His face is plastered with that familiar, fake apologetic smile. I'll pay for everything, he says, waving the checkbook, triple what those books were worth. You still don't get it, do you? I reply, crossing my arms. This was never about money. Don't be difficult, Evelyn, he says, his tone shifting. Take the money and let's put this behind us. Just like Lily put her art behind her. Just like Michael put his teaching dreams behind him. The next day, Tom's expose hits the headlines. Construction empire built on fraud. The William Thompson story. Michael reads from his phone, his expression a mixture of disbelief and relief. The board's launching a full investigation. All projects suspended, accounts frozen. Dad's trying to reach everyone, Lily adds, shaking her head. He's desperate. Have you seen the investor lawsuits? Scarlett asks, walking in with a stack of legal documents. They're coming after everything. The doorbell rings continuously for days. We don't answer. William's voice grows hoarser with each visit, his threats weaker. Then silence. Months later, I stand in my new library. It's bigger, brighter, and filled with carefully chosen books. Sunlight streams through the windows as I address a room full of women. Welcome to our first workshop. Today, we're discussing financial independence and recognizing controlling behavior. Through the window, I spot William across the street. His shoulders are slumped, his hair grayer than I remember. His company is gone, his reputation shattered, his control evaporated. The investigation revealed decades of fraud, and his former clients aren't feeling forgiving. Mom. Mason bursts into the room, holding a trophy. Our book club won first place. And guess what? I got accepted into art school. Lally hugs me tightly, tears in her eyes. Full scholarship, she says, her voice trembling with pride. The restraining order has been approved, Michael adds quietly, stepping up beside me. He can't come near us anymore. I look at my family, really look at them. Michael stands taller now, no longer weighed down by his father's shadow. Lily smiles more often, the light in her eyes rekindled. The kids are thriving. On my desk sits a framed quote from one of my burned books. Sometimes losing everything is the best way to find what you never knew you needed. Ready for story time? I ask as everyone settles into the cozy reading nooks. Can we read about standing up to dragons? Zoe asks, her eyes shining. I smile, thinking of the real dragon we slayed. Those are my favorite stories too. Reflection. What would you do if someone deliberately destroyed something irreplaceable that represented your life's passion and memories? Would you take the money they offered as compensation, or would you choose justice, even if it meant tearing apart your entire family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. Let's talk about putting Adam in a special institution. I know a great place. That's how my mother, Mia, started our weekly family dinner, making my blood boil as usual. My 7-year-old son, Adam, sat beside me, meticulously organizing his peas into perfect rows, a calming habit tied to his autism. It was harmless, but my mother despised it. Mom, we've been over this, I said sharply. Adam's making amazing progress with his current therapy. Well, Rachel's wedding is coming up, and we need everything to be perfect. My mother emphasized the last word, her tone dripping with implication. As if summoned by the mere mention of her name, my half-sister Rachel waltzed in, late as always, flashing her massive engagement ring. "Oh my god, the wedding planner just showed me the most amazing centerpieces," she gushed. "How nice," I muttered, keeping my focus on Adam, who was managing well in a chaos. Just yesterday, his therapist had noted his progress with making eye contact. "Olivia, sweetie," my mother began in that condescendingly sweet voice of hers. "We need to discuss your role as bridesmaid and Adam's presence at the ceremony." My stomach tightened. With my husband, Andrew, away on another sales trip, I was alone in this fight. "What about Adam's presence?" Rachel chimed in, her voice annoyingly chipper. "Well, we're just worried he might have one of his episodes, with the loud noises and all." My voice hardened. "My son has a name, Rachel, and he's sitting right here." James, my stepfather, coughed awkwardly from behind his newspaper, but didn't look up. He never got involved, too preoccupied running his company to bother with family drama. "Darling," my mother pressed, reaching across the table, "we just want everything to go smoothly for Rachel's special day. Maybe Andrew's parents could watch Adam." Adam's soft voice cut through the tension. "Mom, are they talking about me?" I squeezed his hand under the table, our silent signal. "No, sweetheart. Everything's fine. Keep eating." Rachel rolled her eyes. "Kevin's family is very traditional, Liv. They're expecting a certain kind of wedding." "A certain kind?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "You mean one without your autistic nephew?" "Don't be dramatic," my mother sighed. "We're trying to help. Your parenting choices are unconventional." "Unconventional?" I shot back. "Because I refuse to hide my son away. Because I'm proud of who he is." Rachel smirked, gesturing to Adam. "Look at him now, playing with his food." "That's exactly what I mean." "That's enough." I stood abruptly, my chair scraping the floor. "Adam, honey, we're leaving." As I buckled him into the car seat, Adam's big blue eyes searched mine. "Mom, are you mad?" "Not at you, baby. Never at you." Driving home, I couldn't shake the sense that this wedding drama was far from over. Little did I know, I was absolutely right. At the rehearsal dinner, the country club buzzed with activity. Adam sat quietly in a corner, absorbed in his tablet. I noticed my mother huddled with her friend Sarah, who worked as a nurse. Their furtive glances toward Adam sent a chill down my spine. "I brought what you asked for," Sarah whispered, slipping something into my mother's purse. "Just a mild sedative," my mother muttered. "It's for the best." Olivia doesn't understand what's at stake. My heart dropped. Was I hearing this right? Pretending to fix Adam's collar, I watched as my mother moved toward the drink station, where his apple juice sat waiting. "Hey, sweetie, want your juice?" she called, reaching into her purse. I bolted across the room. "What are you doing?" My mother jumped, dropping a small pill bottle. Purple tablets spilled across the floor. "Are these Xanax?" someone murmured. "Mom, were you trying to drug my son?" My voice shook with rage. The room fell silent. Rachel rushed over, her rehearsal dress swishing. "What's going on?" "Your grandmother was about to slip medication into Adam's drink," I exclaimed. "Olivia, don't be absurd," my mother scoffed. "It's just something to help him stay calm." "To help him stay calm? He's not a dog you can tranquilize." Sarah tried to back away, but I blocked her path. "You gave her these, didn't you?" "I was just trying to help," Sarah stammered. Mia said, "Adam might have a meltdown." Rachel interjected, "Maybe Mom has a point." "The only risk here," I snapped, "is your grandmother going to jail for trying to drug a child." At that moment, the doors burst open and Andrew strode in. "I caught an early flight," he announced, taking in the tense scene. "What's going on?" Before I could respond, my Aunt Amelia jumped in. "It's just a misunderstanding. Mia was only trying to help." "Help?" Andrew's face darkened as I explained what had happened. "You tried to drug our son," he demanded. "Mia, you're overreacting," my mother insisted, her voice strained but unwavering. "It was just a little something to keep him quiet during the ceremony." I bent down, picking up one of the scattered pills. "This is prescription medication," I hissed. "You could have killed him." "Now you're being melodramatic," Rachel snapped. "This wouldn't even be necessary if you had better control over your son." Andrew wrapped his arms around Adam protectively. "We're leaving," he said coldly. "And if anyone so much as thinks about coming near our son with medication again, "We're calling the police." As we walked out, my mother's voice followed us. "Olivia always makes everything about her, even my darling Rachel's wedding." I didn't care anymore. Let them talk. All that mattered was protecting Adam from the toxic people who called themselves family. After the rehearsal dinner disaster, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to my mother's behavior than just wedding stress. Determined to uncover the truth, I started digging. My first lead came from an unexpected source, a fellow mom from Adam's therapy group. "Your mother told us Adam was violently dangerous," Lisa revealed during a phone call. "She said we shouldn't let our kids near him." What? My hands shook with rage. "She came to our support group meeting when you were out sick last month," Lisa continued. "Said Adam had put another child in the hospital." The lies didn't stop there. A few days later, my cousin Emma called me, her voice trembling. "I feel terrible," Emma admitted. "Mia told us Adam tried to hurt your baby niece. That's why we didn't invite you to the christening." As if that weren't enough, a text from Sarah's coworker at the hospital tipped me off to yet another revelation. "They're investigating missing medications. Sarah mentioned your mother's name during questioning." And then the bombshell. James's assistant, Caroline, called me in secret. "Olivia, you need to see these financial records," she whispered. "Your mother's been transferring company funds into personal accounts for months. The wedding expenses, they're astronomical." "Does James know?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "He's starting to notice discrepancies," Caroline admitted. "And there's more. She's been writing checks to people, claiming they're victims of Adam's outbursts." My heart sank as I forwarded everything to James. Within hours, the fallout began. Kevin, Rachel's fiancé, stormed into my house that evening, his face red with fury. "Is it true? The wedding's being paid for with stolen money." "Kevin, Don't lie to me, Olivia," he snapped. "My father's an accountant. He reviewed the documents he sent James." Rachel burst in behind him, her face pale. "What's going on?" she demanded. "You're not supposed to see me before the wedding." "There won't be a wedding," Kevin said coldly, "not until we get answers about the money." "What money?" Rachel stammered, her voice shaking. "Olivia, what did you do?" "Me," I shot back. "Ask your mother about the embezzled funds. Ask her about paying people to lie about Adam." Rachel's face turned ghostly white. "Mom wouldn't." Kevin's phone buzzed. "It's my father," he said, glancing at the screen. "He's talking to James right now." Moments later, Sarah appeared at my door, mascara streaking her face. "They suspended my nursing license," she sobbed. "Mia promised she'd protect me." I crossed my arms, glaring at her. "You should have thought about that before stealing medication to drug a child." Rachel sank onto my couch, tears streaming down her face. "The venue called," she whispered. "James froze the payment accounts. My perfect wedding isn't looking so perfect anymore, is it?" I finished for her, my voice sharp. A twisted sense of satisfaction surged through me, but it was quickly swallowed by exhaustion. "Olivia, please," Rachel begged, sobbing into her hands. "You have to help me fix this." "Fix what?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Mom's lies? The stolen money? The attempts to drug Adam? The years of making me feel like a horrible mother." My phone buzzed constantly with messages from family members all saying the same thing. "We had no idea. Mia told us. We're so sorry." The truth had finally unraveled, and no amount of designer centerpieces could cover up the mess. A month after the wedding disaster, I sat in the garden, watching Adam play with Ruby, his new therapy dog. The past weeks had been a whirlwind of revelations and consequences, unraveling years of deception. James had called an emergency family meeting at his office. I'll never forget the look on my mother's face as he laid out the evidence. 7 years of systematic fraud. "Mia," James said, his tone ice cold, "you've stolen nearly $2 million. Mia, you've stolen nearly $2 million. "James, darling, I can explain," she stammered. "Save it for the divorce attorneys," he shot back. "And Rachel, your wedding fund is being seized as evidence." Rachel gasped. "But my social committee position, my charity board seats." "All gone," James replied flatly. "They've already voted you out." The follow-up didn't stop there. Sarah, now desperate to salvage her career, testified during her nursing board hearing. "Mia had me forge prescriptions for years," she confessed, her voice breaking. "Not just for Adam, diet pills, anxiety medication, sleeping tablets, for her society friends too. The dominoes kept falling. Rachel's perfect life crumbled when Kevin called off their engagement with a scathing social media post. "I won't start a marriage based on stolen money and lies." Soon after, Rachel showed up at my door, clutching packed bags. "Olivia, please," she begged. "I can't afford my condo anymore." I crossed my arms. "Try the efficiency apartments on Oak Street. I hear they're always hiring at the diner next door." My mother attempted a dramatic apology over coffee. "I was just trying to maintain our family's image. You don't understand the pressure." "No, Mom," I replied firmly. "You don't understand. Adam was never the problem. You were." One by one, relatives called to apologize. Aunt Amelia broke down in tears. "We should have stood up to Mia years ago, Olivia. We watched her torture you and Adam. And we did nothing." Meanwhile, Adam was thriving in his new therapy program. His therapist marveled at his progress now that the constant stress was gone. "Mom," Adam asked one morning, his blue eyes sparkling, "can I invite Tommy from therapy to my birthday?" "Of course, sweetheart," I replied, smiling. "We'll invite whoever you want." Last weekend, we hosted his birthday party in our backyard. The space was filled with joy. Adam's therapy group friends, their understanding parents, supportive family members who had earned back our trust. Andrew grilled burgers while Ruby, the dog, chased the kids through the sprinkler. I snapped a few photos and posted them online, knowing my mother and Rachel would see them. My mother, now living in a modest condo post-divorce, and Rachel, waiting tables between failed job interviews, were no longer part of our lives. "Olivia," Andrew whispered, hugging me from behind. Adam's telling jokes to his friends. I looked over at my son. He was surrounded by people who accepted him exactly as he was. He laughed, made eye contact, and felt free to be himself, without fear of judgment or criticism. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother. "I miss my grandson." I left it unread, just like the last dozen messages. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some apologies come too late. The party ended with Adam opening his presents, his face glowing with genuine joy. No one shushed him when he got excited. No one suggested medication when he needed a quiet moment. No one made him feel less than perfect. "Best birthday ever, Mom," Adam said, hugging me tight. Looking around at our chosen family, the people who stood by us, protected Adam, and valued truth over appearances, I knew we found our happy ending, not in revenge, but in freedom from toxic people who had never deserved us in the first place. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, surrounded by authentic love and acceptance. Adam and I were doing exactly that. What would you do if you caught a family member trying to secretly drug your child? Would you maintain contact if they claimed they meant well? Or would you cut them off completely, as I did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Mia Martinez, a 28-year-old event planner in Chicago. And let me tell you, this story is going to make your jaw drop. "Mia, this is it," Mom exclaimed, her voice trembling as I stepped out in the fourth dress of the day. The tears in her eyes told me everything. The strapless silk gown hugged my curves perfectly, with delicate pearl beading shimmering under the boutique's lights. "You really think James will love it?" I asked, turning to face her. "Honey, he'd marry you in a trash bag," Mom said with a warm smile, before adding with a sigh. "But Barbara." Her face darkened. "Don't even start," I groaned. "She's already driving me insane with her helpful suggestions." I mimicked my future mother-in-law's haughty tone. "Oh, darling, surely you don't want roses. They're so common." "You haven't told her about dress shopping, have you?" Mom asked, narrowing her eyes. God, no. She'd probably torch the dress if it wasn't from her precious designer friend in Paris. I met James at one of my events, a charity gala for his law firm. While the other rich guys were busy getting drunk and hitting on waitresses, James was helping an elderly guest who'd slipped on the dance floor. I knew then he was different. 6 incredible months later, we moved in together, and last spring, he proposed at our favorite coffee shop. Simple. Sweet. Perfect. But Barbara, she was anything but simple. "Girl, the Wilson estate is insane," my assistant, Katie, gushed over lunch. "Did you see their fountain? It's bigger than my entire apartment." "Yeah, well, I'd get married in a McDonald's parking lot if it meant Barbara would back off," I muttered. My phone buzzed. Another text from her. Barbara, surprise. I've booked a string orchestra for the wedding. You're welcome. I stared at the screen, dumbfounded. James's college band was supposed to play. At dinner that night, Barbara dropped another bombshell. I've revised the seating chart, she announced. We'll put Amelia at a table near the kitchen entrance. More appropriate, don't you think? Appropriate? I blurted, my fork clattering against the plate. Mom's just trying to help with logistics, James said, touching my arm. But I noticed my mom tense every time Barbara walked into a room. One night, I found her crying over an old photo album. Mom, what's going on with you and Barbara? She slammed the album shut. Some doors are better left closed, baby. And then there was Lucy, James's sister. Sweet smiles in public. But I caught her whispering with Barbara too many times. We can't let her find out about him, I overheard Lucy hiss. Everything would be ruined. At the engagement party, Barbara cornered me at the bar. Your mother worked in Lake Forest years ago, didn't she? Around the time of that unfortunate incident. My mom bolted from the room, and I found her chain smoking in the garden, a habit she'd given up years ago. Mom, what is going on? Not here, Mia, she said, trembling. I confronted James that night. Don't you think it's weird how your mom is so obsessed with my mom's past? And why is she being so controlling up a guest list? You're overthinking it, he said dismissively. She just wants everything to be perfect. But whose version of perfect? And why the extra security at a family wedding? My event planner instincts were screaming that something was off. A few days later, while unpacking in our new apartment, my mom picked up a photo from the engagement party. Who's this man behind Barbara? Some family friend, I said. She's been oddly insistent about him attending all our events. Why? Mom's face went pale. She fumbled in her purse and pulled out an old newspaper clipping. Because I've seen him before. His name is William. He embezzled $50,000 from my business 7 years ago. What? He vanished before we could press charges. The police said someone paid off his debts. My phone buzzed. Lucy. Hey sis, Mom wants us all over for dinner tonight. She's got a big announcement about the wedding. That evening, Barbara was practically glowing. I've added a special segment to the reception program, she said. A family reunion of sorts. What do you mean? James asked. Barbara smiled, her eyes gleaming. Oh, it's not my place to say. Just trust me, darling. Later that night, I overheard Barbara and Lucy talking in the study. William is so excited. Mom, after 30 years, you're finally acknowledging him, Lucy said, her voice barely above a whisper. Keep your voice down. Barbara snapped. No one can know he's my son, not until the wedding, especially not that nosy Mia. My heart stopped. William was Barbara's secret son and my mom's former employee who had stolen from her years ago. I couldn't let it go. Digging deeper, I unearthed court records. William had multiple fraud charges, all mysteriously dropped. Bank statements revealed Barbara had been funneling money from the family business to an offshore account. The pieces were falling into place. James, we need to talk about your mom, I said the next night. Can it wait? I'm swamped with this case about missing trust fund money, he replied, looking exhausted. That's just it. I found something about Barbara and your family's money. James groaned. Not this again, you're being paranoid. She's been stealing from your dad's company, James. I have proof. And she's been sending money to her secret son, William. Her what? His face hardened. This is ridiculous. He stormed out before I could explain. An hour later, Lucy showed up at my door. You need to back off, Mia. Stop digging into family business. Or what? I asked, crossing my arms. Or your mom's little tax problem might find its way to the IRS. Are you threatening me? Just delivering a message. Drop it or things will get ugly, Lucy hissed before leaving. Shaking, I called my mom. They're blackmailing me. Barbara's planning something big at the wedding. I found more photos, Mom said, her voice grim. William isn't just Barbara's son. He's been running scams with her for years. That money he stole from me? It's probably sitting in her offshore accounts. Why wait until the wedding to announce him? I asked. Think about it, Mia. What better way to legitimize her criminal son than introducing him at a high society event? Once he's publicly accepted as a Wilson, no one will question where his money comes from. The morning of the wedding, Barbara barged into my bridal suite. I've arranged for William to sit at the main table, she announced. Funny, I don't remember approving that, I replied coldly. It's non-negotiable, she said, her tone saccharine. This is a very special day for all of us. Before I could respond, my mom stormed in. Get out, Barbara. Still bitter about your little financial troubles, Amelia? Barbara sneered. Water under the bridge. You're not ruining my daughter's wedding with your criminal spawn, Mom shot back. Criminal? I have no idea what you mean. Like you didn't know he stole from my business. Like you haven't been funding his scams for years. The door flew open and Lucy rushed in, panicked. Mom, William is here, but there's a problem. Some guy is asking questions about him. Says he's from the FBI. Barbara's face went pale. Handle it, she hissed. I'm not letting anything stop this announcement. What announcement? James appeared in the doorway, his expression suspicious. Nothing, darling. Just wedding surprises, Barbara said quickly. Your mother is about to introduce her secret son, Mom said, stepping forward. The one she had as a teenager and gave up for adoption. The same man who's been stealing money from your family business. That's ridiculous, James exclaimed, but his voice wavered. Is it? Barbara lunged for her purse, but Lucy blocked her. Mom, don't, Lucy pleaded. The purse fell to the ground, spilling papers everywhere. Bank statements, fake IDs, photos of Barbara with William spanning decades. You knew? James turned to Lucy, his voice trembling. I was protecting her. Lucy cried. Family helps family. We're done here, I said, grabbing my mom's hand. This wedding is off. You can't do this, Barbara shrieked. I already told everyone about William's surprise. What surprise? James demanded. Her plan to legitimize her criminal empire, I said. Suddenly, security burst into the room. Mrs. Wilson, FBI agents are here to see you, and William Crawford. William tried to run, but they caught him at the back gate. Barbara shoved past us, racing into the reception hall, only to be stopped by FBI agents who placed her in handcuffs. Mrs. Wilson, we have some questions about financial transactions, one agent said. This is all a mistake, Barbara shouted. Robert, tell them. James's father stepped forward, his face solemn. No, Barbara, no more covering up your mistakes. Everything exploded at once, guests screaming, photographers snapping photos, and Barbara's cries as she was led away. 6 months later, my mom and I were having coffee when the news broke. Barbara Wilson, socialite and wife of business mogul Robert Wilson, sentenced to 15 years for money laundering and fraud. Karma's a beast, isn't it? Mom said with a satisfied smile. My phone buzzed. James. Hey, did you see the news? Yeah, I said softly. How are you holding up? Dad's doing better. Now that the divorce is final, life has started to stabilize. James is healing and the Wilson family business is finally on the mend after we cut off all of William's accounts. Lucy took a plea deal, 5 years for her role in the scheme. She confessed everything. How she helped William target small businesses, how she covered up Barbara's fraudulent transfers, and how deep the corruption ran. 15 years behind bars. I bet Barbara's designer suits look stunning in orange. Then James texted me. Listen, can we meet? There's something I need to say in person. An hour later, we sat in our old favorite coffee shop. I was an idiot, James said, staring into his untouched coffee. I should have listened when you tried to warn me. You were manipulated your whole life, I said softly. That's what toxic people do. He sighed. Dad found more evidence. William wasn't Barbara's only secret. She's been running cons since college. All those charity galas, money laundering fronts. My phone buzzed with a news alert. William Crawford, son of Barbara Wilson, faces additional charges in a multi-state fraud scheme. You know what's crazy? James shook his head. He was stealing from Dad's company even while Barbara was planning to announce him as her son. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Some people never change, I said, shaking my head. How's the company? Better than ever. Stocks are up since Dad took back control. Turns out, removing criminals from your board does wonders for business. And you? Starting fresh? Actually, yeah, I joined a new law firm, he said, then pulled out an envelope. And, remember that band we wanted for our wedding? They're playing next month. James, I'm not asking for a wedding. Just dinner. A chance to start over. No toxic family, no secrets. Just us this time. Before I could respond, another alert popped up on my phone. Socialite Lucy Wilson begins prison sentence. Sources say brother William Crawford implicated her in additional schemes. Guess even prison doesn't stop family drama, I said, laughing. Speaking of family, he said, grinning, your mom's business expansion looks amazing. Yeah, funny how removing a corrupt competitor like Barbara opens up the market. Mom's got 3 new locations now. So about that dinner? He asked, leaning in. I looked at him, really looked. The trust fund kid I once knew was gone, replaced by someone who learned the hard way about toxic people and the importance of standing up for what's right. One condition, I said, smirking. We're taking separate cars, and you're paying. Deal, he said, laughing. And don't forget, your mom ruined my wedding dress with those handcuff scuff marks. For the first time in months, we both laughed. It felt real. What would you do if you discovered your future mother-in-law wasn't just toxic but downright dangerous? Would you expose her immediately, risking your relationship, or quietly gather evidence while watching your partner be manipulated? This story reminds us that sometimes the people closest to us can live double lives, and that the perfect family image often hides the darkest secrets. Have you ever dealt with toxic in-laws or family members who showed their true colors before a major event? How did you handle it? And what red flags do you wish you'd noticed sooner? I'd love to hear your experiences. Share them in the comments below.